Yo, YouTube, what's up? Today we're gonna be reviewing another episode of Gachaikuta. This is episode 18. Let's get it! Boom, we jump right into the next episode. And after the anime gives us a brief recap of the previous episode, we go back to Jabba and Zonka. And as the camera pans to Zonka, you can see in his face he's still recovering. He's still hallucinating. He's still on a high from being stabbed by Jabba's vital instrument. Moving on a bit, Jabba tells Zonka, he says, "We've had enough fun. Now I must complete my mission and take you up to the trash beast." And as he's dragging Zonka out of the room, he celebrates. He says, "Yes, good old Jabba, I completed my mission." And as he's jumping for joy, out of nowhere, somebody shoots him. He's shocked. He says, "Huh?" And after this suspenseful scene, the anime takes us to Engine versus the Raider Euphoros. And this scene gets a little awkward because Euphoros, the Raider, is super shy and timid. He doesn't know how to start the fight. And as he's talking with Engine, he says, "I have to start already. We have to get this over with." He explains to Engine that the head of the Raiders, Zordel, has tasked them with capturing the rest of the cleaners and offering them up to the trash beast. And after giving Engine this information, he says, "Now could you please start the fight already?" Engine responds like a troll. He says, "Nah, I'm good." After the short scene, we go to a flashback of early on in the anime. And we go to the battle between Riyo and the Raider cleaner girl with the electrical hair as her vital instrument. And as they're battling it out, Riyo uses a special technique with wind to fight off the electrical hair. This technique works perfectly because she doesn't have to get shocked by her electrical hair. The woman grows furious. She uses her vital instrument to spark up her electrical charged hair, and she looks to attack Riyo. And right in that moment, Riyo has a flashback of when she used the wind technique on her electrical charged hair. She remembers after she used this technique, the woman couldn't use her hair for a certain amount of time. And boom, she found her weak point. And so as their battle goes on, Riyo has a plan. She evades the attack and she goes and hides out. The woman grows enraged. She says, "Come out and fight me. I hate cowards like you." She charges up her power. Riyo says, "Bingo," and suddenly she comes out of nowhere with a sneak attack with her vital instrument. But the woman surprisingly dodges it. But not only that, she hits Riyo with a barrage of attack moves, throwing her to the ground. She tells Riyo that her hair is an extension of her, and she can control it whenever she wants. But as she's bragging, she does one thing wrong. She tells Riyo her weakness. She tells her that the comb that she used to electrically charge her hair has a time limit. Riyo says, "Good, I know your weak point now, I got you." Zora responds and she says, "Even with this information, you still won't win." She says, "I know how to compensate for my weakness." She then suddenly starts to attack Riyo with a fury of close range attacks. Riyo evades most of them off. And after trolling Zord a little bit, Zord lets off one of her most powerful attacks. But Riyo defends it off with her vital instrument. After the attack, the battle comes to a standstill. Zora starts to troll Riyo. She says, "The way you move and how big your vital instrument is doesn't go together." Riyo responds. She says, "Nah, it's perfect, but I'll admit to you, I'm way better fighting without it." Soon after, they size each other up. And after the quick stop, we finally get the fade. And as they battle it out, they go blow for blow, vital instrument for vital instrument. And as they continue their battle, no one has the upper hand. The anime makes it where you're on your heels. You don't know who's going to win this battle. And so as the fight continues, more madness. They're going at it. And after fighting for what it seems like an eternity, the smoke finally clears. And both of the fighters are tired. They're worn out. And after a few words of antagonizing each other, Riyo suddenly starts to cough up blood. Zora says, "Yeah, you're pretty good, but you're not strong enough." Riyo responds with a question. She says, "Hey, if you defeat me, nobody can hear a scream if I was to yell, right?" Zora responds. She says, "Nope." And so now it looks like Riyo has lost all hope. It looks like she's going to lose the battle. But this couldn't be more far from the truth because she has a trick up her sleeve. And by trick, I mean she has a gun. She pulls out a gun and Swiss cheese is Zord, and she falls to the floor. We move on a little bit. The next scene shows her on the ground struggling. She asks Riyo, she says, "Hey, where did you get that from?" Riyo responds, she said, "Engine told me that I couldn't use it anymore. He says I couldn't kill anybody." She then further explains that you were too strong of an opponent. I had to use it on you. And as she lies on top of Zord, Riyo drops a bombshell. Her former job was actually her being an assassin. Riyo then tells her, she says, "But we're going to keep that our little secret." And as she's staring at her demonically, she says, "If Engine wouldn't have me on the leash, I would have killed you, but I'm going to let you live today." Riyo then puts the gun to her head and says, I know you know where the rest of my teammates are. Shortly after she get all the information she needs, she finally heads out and goes to save the rest of her cleaner comrade. As we move along, we get to the final scene of the anime. We get a flashback of Riyo. And as she sets out to go look for the rest of her cleaner comrades, she starts to reminisce on Rudo. She says, I still don't know too much about him or how things will end up for him. And as she's going through her thoughts, deep down inside of her, she feels regret. Moving along, we come back to the present day after that flashback. This scene shows how she shot Jabba right before he took off with Zonka and offered him to the trash beast. And after shooting Zonka, he's laying on the ground helplessly. She trolls him and says, I know you're okay, you're too stubborn to die. Soon after she goes by Zonka's side, she sees that he's still alive. She then picks him up and takes him to go get healed. Then after this scene, we get to the final parts of the anime. It's Rudo and the boss of the Raider, Zoidal. After the manhole user tells him information about the fights and what's going on with the Raiders and the cleaners, Zoidal tells Rudo it's time to go. Suddenly, him and the manhole user takes Rudo. They go through the portal and they end up in some underground weird type cave. Rudo grows mad. He says, hey man, where you keep taking me? Zoidal responds and says, man, you act just like a kid. Do you want to take over the spear with me or not? Rudo just grows more agitated. And after going back and forth, Zoidal grabs the Watchman boots that he got from Ammo and offers it up to this weird creature. And as it consumes these boots, Zoidal then tells Rudo, by me using your gloves, my coat, and these boots, he says, I was thinking, what if I could add my own entries into the Watchmen series? Rudo's just staring there, shocked. He can't believe what he's seeing. He's just watching this monster creature consume these boots. What's going to happen next? We don't know because after this cliffhanger, the anime ends.